Have you ever noticed your dog tilting his head when you talk to him, as if he's hanging on your every word? Or watched him wag his tail in different ways, depending on who walks through the door? Why does your dog stare into your eyes for minutes at a time? And what is he really saying when he raises that paw? By the end of this video, you'll understand the secret language your dog uses every single day, gestures that reveal emotions, needs, and a level of connection you might not have realized existed. Dogs can't speak our language, but that doesn't mean they're not constantly talking to us. They use a sophisticated system of body language, facial expressions, and gestures to communicate everything from "I'm curious about what you just said" to "I'm feeling anxious right now" to "I love you so much it hurts." Understanding these signals isn't just fascinating, it's crucial for the bond between you and your pet. When you can read what your dog is telling you, you can respond appropriately, strengthen your relationship, and even prevent misunderstandings that could lead to stress or behavioral issues. Today, we'll decode 7 of the most common and meaningful gestures dogs use: the adorable head tilt, the complex tail wag, the paw raise, licking behaviors, yawning, eye contact, and vocalizations like barking and whining. Over the next few days, I encourage you to pay close attention to your own dog. Watch for these gestures, notice when they happen, and see if you can start deciphering what your furry friend is really trying to tell you. Let's start with one of the most universally beloved dog behaviors, the head tilt. You know exactly what I'm talking about, that moment when your dog suddenly cocks his head to one side, ears perking up, eyes focused intently on you. Sometimes the tilt is dramatic, sometimes subtle, but it never fails to make us think, what's going on in that furry head? The head tilt usually happens when you're speaking to your dog, when they hear an unusual sound, or when you ask them a question in that special voice we all use with our pets. Possible explanations. So why do dogs do this? Scientists have proposed several fascinating explanations. First, sound localization. Dogs have movable ear flaps that can partially block sounds, and tilting their heads helps them pinpoint exactly where a sound is coming from. By changing the angle of their ears, they can better determine the distance and direction of what they're hearing. Second, visual adjustment. This theory, proposed by renowned dog behavior expert Dr. Stanley Coren, suggests that a dog's muzzle can block their view of the lower part of a human's face. Think about it. If you hold your fist up to your nose and try to look at someone talking, you'll see how much of their mouth and chin disappears from view. When dogs tilt their heads, they're actually getting a better angle to see our full facial expressions, which helps them understand us better. Third, and perhaps most intriguing, cognitive processing. Research from Eötvös Loránd University in Hungary uncovered something remarkable about head tilting and intelligence in dogs. In a groundbreaking study published in Animal Cognition, researchers studied 40 dogs during object naming tests. They found something extraordinary. Dogs who successfully learned the names of toys, what they called gifted word learners, tilted their heads 43% of the time when asked to fetch a specific toy by name. In contrast, dogs who hadn't learned toy names only tilted their heads 2% of the time. Even more fascinating, each dog had a preferred direction for their head, tilt left or right, and this preference stayed consistent across months of testing. One gifted border collie named Whiskey could correctly identify 54 different toys by name, and her head tilts were remarkably consistent. Lead researcher Andrea Samiz suggests the head tilt might indicate mental processing the dog is literally thinking, possibly matching the word they're hearing with a visual memory of the toy. It's the canine equivalent of when humans tilt their heads while trying to remember something. Additionally, research shows that dogs process familiar human words in the right side of their brains, similar to how human language processing works. The lateralization of brain function might explain why dogs favor one side when tilting. For you as an owner, when your dog tilts his head, it's generally a very positive signal. Your dog is paying extremely close attention to you. He's engaged, curious, and possibly trying to understand what you're saying at a deeper level than we might have imagined. Interestingly, research suggests that flatter-faced breeds like bulldogs and Boston Terriers may tilt their heads less frequently because their short muzzles do not obstruct their view as much as longer-snouted breeds. Pay attention to when your dog tilts his head. Is it when you use certain words? When you ask questions? When there's an unusual sound? The more you observe, the more you'll understand what captures your dog's intense focus and curiosity. Now let's talk about tail wagging, one of the most iconic dog behaviors and one of the most misunderstood. Not all tail wags mean the same thing. There are slow wags and fast wags. Wags with the tail held high versus low. Whole body wags where the dog's entire rear end wiggles with joy. And stiff, controlled wags that might actually signal tension or aggression. The key to understanding tail language is paying attention to three things: the speed of the wag, the position of the tail, and what the rest of the body is doing. A high, fast wag typically signals excitement or happiness. When your dog's tail is up and moving rapidly, especially if accompanied by a relaxed, wiggly body, that's usually a joyful dog. A slow wag or a wag with a stiff tail can indicate caution, uncertainty, or even potential aggression. The dog is aroused, but not necessarily in a friendly way. Tail position matters enormously. A high tail generally indicates confidence or alertness. A tail at neutral height suggests a relaxed state. A low tail or tucked tail typically signals insecurity, submission, or fear. But here's where it gets really fascinating. Research from Italian neuroscientist Giorgio Valotigara and colleagues, published in Current Biology, discovered something remarkable about the direction of tail wagging. When dogs saw their owners, an unfamiliar person, or a cat, they wagged their tails more to the right side of their body. However, when they saw an unfamiliar dominant dog or were in a neutral situation with no stimulus, they wagged their tails more to the left. This isn't random. It's linked to brain lateralization. The left hemisphere of the brain controls the right side of the body and is associated with approach behaviors and positive emotions. The right hemisphere controls the left side and is associated with withdrawal behaviors and negative emotions. In a follow-up study published in Current Biology, researchers showed dogs videos of other dogs wagging their tails. When dogs watched another dog wagging its tail to the left, indicating negative emotions, their heart rates increased and they showed more anxious behaviors. When they saw right side tail wagging, they remained calm. This means dogs can actually read the emotional content of other dogs' tail wags. They understand what the asymmetry means. More recent research with laboratory beagles showed that tail wagging bias can shift based on social bonding. Dogs who were initially anxious around unfamiliar humans showed left-biased wagging, but after just 3 5-minute positive interaction sessions, their wagging shifted to a right bias, indicating increased comfort and positive emotions. The takeaway for owners is clear. Tail wagging is complex communication, not just a simple happy dog signal. Pay attention to the full picture. Is the tail high or low? Is it wagging quickly or slowly? Which direction is the wag biased toward? What does the rest of the body look like, tense or relaxed? A dog with a low, slowly wagging tail, stiff body, and fixed stare is not the same as a dog with a high, rapidly wagging tail, loose, wiggly body, and play bow. The first dog might be preparing to defend itself. The second is inviting you to play. Understanding these nuances can prevent misunderstandings and even potential conflicts. Just because a dog's tail is moving doesn't automatically mean it's safe to approach. Let's move on to another gesture that melts hearts. When a dog raises or offers a paw. This can happen in many contexts during greetings, when they want something, when they're uncertain, or even during hunting behaviors for certain breeds. When a dog lifts one front paw, it might be barely off the ground or dramatically suspended in the air, sometimes with the whole body frozen in place. First, requesting attention or resources. This is perhaps the most common meaning in pet dogs. When your dog puts his paw on your lap or raises it toward you, he's typically asking for something: food, petting, play, or simply your attention. This behavior is called manding in behavioral psychology, meaning a request or demand. Second, uncertainty or anxiety. Animal behavior experts note that paw lifting is often a displacement behavior, showing conflict between two competing drives. For example, your dog might want to approach an unfamiliar person, but also feels wary, so he raises a paw while processing this internal conflict. This is often accompanied by other signs of stress, like a lowered body posture, tucked tail, or pulled back ears. Third, appeasement. Dogs sometimes raise a paw as a submissive gesture, essentially saying, "I'm not a threat," to avoid potential conflict with another dog or person. This typically comes with other calming signals like lip licking, head turning, or averting the gaze. Fourth, instinctive pointing behavior. For hunting breeds like pointers, German short-haired pointers, and English setters, raising a paw is hardwired instinct. These dogs were specifically bred for generations to freeze and point with a raised paw when they detect game birds. According to breed experts, some pointing puppies can display this behavior as early as 2 months old without any training. While pointing behavior has been extensively studied in hunting breeds, the communicative aspects of paw raising in non-hunting dogs haven't been as thoroughly researched in formal scientific literature. However, the behavior is well documented in animal behavior and veterinary behavioral medicine. Research on displacement behaviors shows that paw lifts are multimodal signals. Dogs rarely use them in isolation, but combine them with gaze, head position, tail movement, and facial expressions to create meaning. The same physical gesture can mean different things depending on the full context of the dog's body language. For owners, understanding paw raising comes down to observation. Look at the whole picture. What else is your dog's body saying? Is his posture relaxed and happy, suggesting he wants to play or be petted? Or is his body tense, suggesting uncertainty or anxiety? If your dog frequently paws at you for attention and you find it annoying, be careful about how you respond. Even saying no while standing up and engaging with your dog teaches him that pawing works to get your attention. Instead, ignore the pawing and reward an alternative behavior like sitting calmly. However, don't ignore paw raising if it is accompanied by signs of stress or if it has new behavior. Sometimes dogs raise a paw because they're in pain, perhaps from an injury, something stuck between their paw pads, or arthritis. If your dog consistently favors one paw, or if paw raising is accompanied by limping or excessive licking, a veterinary checkup is warranted. Licking is one of the most common ways dogs interact with us, but it means different things in different contexts. Dogs lick hands, faces, feet, objects, themselves, and other dogs. The frequency, intensity, and situation all provide clues about what they're communicating. First, affection and bonding. Many experts agree that licking is often a sign of love and attachment. From the moment puppies are born, licking is part of their lives. Their mothers lick them to clean them, stimulate them, and show them affection. As adult dogs, they transfer this bonding behavior to us. Research published in Animal Cognition found that when dogs engage in affiliative behaviors, including licking, their oxytocin levels increase, the same bonding hormone that strengthens parent-child relationships in humans. Second, communication and greeting. The behavior has evolutionary roots. Puppies lick their mother's face to encourage her to regurgitate food for them. While our domesticated dogs aren't expecting us to regurgitate dinner, the greeting function remains. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, head of the Horowitz Dog Cognition Lab at Barnard College, explains that when your dog licks your face after you come home, it's absolutely a greeting and a way of connecting with you, though it might also contain a hint of, "What did you eat?" Third, information gathering. Dogs explore the world through their mouths and noses. When they lick us, they're tasting and smelling us, gathering information about where we've been and what we've been doing. Human sweat contains salt and other compounds that dogs find appealing and informative. Fourth, appeasement and stress relief. Dogs lick as a calming signal, either to soothe themselves or to diffuse tension with others. Licking releases endorphins and dopamine in a dog's brain, creating feelings of calm and relaxation. If your dog licks himself, objects, or you excessively during stressful situations, he may be self-soothing. Fifth, the lick to dismiss. This lesser-known behavior, documented by canine researchers, is a way for dogs to request space or redirect unwanted attention. A quick, perfunctory lick, coupled with signs of stress, like a stiff body, turned head, or visible eye whites, signals that your dog is uncomfortable and would like you to back off. A 2012 study found that dogs were more likely to lick and nuzzle their owners when the owners pretended to cry compared to when they were just talking or humming. This suggests dogs can recognize distress in humans and respond with comforting behaviors, demonstrating a capacity for empathy. Research also shows dogs are highly attuned to taste and smell. They have eccrine glands, which produce salt, and apocrine glands, which produce more complex compounds, all over our bodies. These create different scents and tastes that fascinate dogs and provide them with detailed information about our physical and emotional states. For owners, licking is usually positive, a sign of affection, bonding, and trust. However, excessive licking should not be ignored. If your dog licks obsessively, it could indicate anxiety, boredom, allergies, or even pain. Persistent self-licking, particularly of paws or specific body areas, warrants a veterinary consultation. Pay attention to context. Does your dog lick you primarily when you come home, suggesting greeting and affection? Or does he lick during stressful situations, suggesting anxiety? Does he lick right after your workout, drawn by salty sweat? Understanding the why helps you respond appropriately. And remember, while licking is generally safe, it can spread bacteria. People with weakened immune systems, young children, pregnant individuals, and the elderly should wash thoroughly after being licked, especially on the face or any open wounds. Yawning in dogs looks similar to yawning in humans. A big open mouth, deep inhalation, sometimes with a high-pitched sound or sigh at the end. But in dogs, yawning serves many more purposes than just signaling tiredness. Dogs yawn when waking up or settling down to sleep, but they also yawn in social situations, during training sessions, when meeting new people or dogs, and in stressful environments. First, stress and anxiety. This is one of the most important functions of yawning in dogs. Yawning is recognized as a calming signal in canine body language, a way dogs self-soothe when feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Yawning may slow their breathing and help them regulate their physiological stress response. If you see your dog yawning during training, at the vet, or in an uncomfortable situation, it likely means, "I'm feeling pressured right now." Second, calming signal to others. Dogs also yawn to communicate non-aggression to other dogs or humans. It's their way of saying, "I'm not a threat. Let's keep things calm." This is why you might see your dog yawn when a stranger approaches, or when meeting an unfamiliar dog. Third, tiredness. Yes, sometimes a yawn is just a yawn. Dogs yawn when transitioning between sleep and wakefulness, just like we do. Fourth, contagious yawning. Research shows that dogs can catch yawns from humans, particularly from people they're bonded with. A 2013 study, published in PLOS, one found that dogs yawned more frequently in response to their owner's yawns than to strangers' yawns, suggesting the behavior may be linked to empathy and social bonding. However, more recent research published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B challenges the empathy explanation. A comprehensive Bayesian reanalysis of 6 studies confirmed that contagious yawning does occur in dogs, but found no evidence that it's linked to familiarity, gender, or prosocial behavior predictions of the empathy hypothesis. The researchers concluded that while contagious yawning is real in dogs, it may not be mediated by empathetic mechanisms as previously thought. A 2014 study found that stress yawns in shelter dogs or contagious dogs with elevated cortisol, a stress hormone, caught yawns more frequently, suggesting yawning might be linked to emotional states, even if not classic empathy. For owners, yawning is an important signal to watch. If your dog yawns during training sessions, he may be feeling confused or pressured. It's time to dial back the difficulty or take a break. If your dog yawns when meeting new people or in novel situations, he's likely processing stress and trying to stay calm. Interestingly, you can use yawning yourself as a calming signal when approaching nervous dogs. By yawning deliberately, you're communicating non-aggression in a language they understand. If your dog yawns after you yawn, especially if you're closely bonded, it could indicate a strong social connection, regardless of whether it technically qualifies as empathy. Multiple rapid yawns in succession can signal significant distress. If this becomes a pattern, consult with a veterinarian or behavioral specialist to address the underlying stress or anxiety. Eye contact is profound between dogs and humans in a way that's unique in the animal kingdom. When dogs look into our eyes, holding our gaze with those soulful expressions, something special is happening. Dogs make different kinds of eye contact. Steady gazes that last several seconds or even minutes. Quick glances to check in with us. Intense stares when they want something, and averted gazes when they're uncomfortable. First, bonding and trust. Steady eye contact between a dog and owner typically signifies attachment and affection. Unlike wolves, which interpret direct eye contact as threatening, domesticated dogs have evolved to use mutual gazing as a bonding mechanism. Second, seeking guidance and information. Dogs look at us to read our cues and understand what's going to happen next. During training, when uncertain or before anticipated events like walks, dogs check in with eye contact to gauge our intentions and get direction. Third, attention seeking. The intense stare you get at dinner time? That's your dog using eye contact deliberately to get what he wants. Dogs quickly learn that staring at their owners often results in food, play, or other desirable outcomes. Fourth, potential challenge or discomfort. In some contexts, particularly with unfamiliar dogs or intense situations, prolonged staring can signal dominance or a challenge. Context matters enormously here. The science behind dog-human eye contact is stunning. In a groundbreaking 2015 study published in Science by Takafumi Kikisui and colleagues, researchers discovered that when dogs and their owners gaze into each other's eyes, both experience dramatic increases in oxytocin, the love hormone that bonds mothers to infants. In the study, dog owner pairs who engaged in prolonged mutual gazing remarkably. When the same experiment was conducted with hand-raised wolves and their human caregivers, there was no oxytocin response and virtually no mutual gazing. This strongly suggests that dogs evolved the ability to hijack the human bonding system through eye contact during domestication. A follow-up experiment gave dogs an oxytocin nasal spray and found that female dogs, but not males, increased their gazing behavior by 150%, which in turn increased their owner's oxytocin by 300%. The gender difference might relate to oxytocin's crucial role in female reproduction and maternal care. Additional research shows that dog breeds more genetically similar to wolves make less spontaneous eye contact with humans compared to breeds bred for human partnership, suggesting this behavior was shaped by selective breeding. For you as an owner, eye contact with your dog is one of the most powerful bonding tools you have. That loving gaze you share truly creates a neurochemical connection, similar to the parent-child bond. However, be mindful of context. Loving eye contact in a safe, relaxed environment strengthens your relationship. But forced eye contact with an anxious, fearful, or aggressive dog can escalate tension. Always read the full body language. Some dogs, particularly breeds that retain more wolf-like characteristics, may be naturally less inclined toward prolonged eye contact. This doesn't mean they love you less, they just communicate differently. You can strengthen your bond by spending quiet time making soft eye contact with your dog, especially during calm, positive moments. This literally releases love hormones in both of you. Vocalizations are perhaps dogs' most obvious form of communication. Dogs produce a remarkable range of sounds: sharp barks, soft woofs, high-pitched whines, deep growls, mournful howls, and everything in between. The context, tone, pitch, and frequency of these vocalizations all convey specific meanings. A high-pitched bark sounds completely different from a deep, rumbling bark. A whine during separation differs from an excited whine before dinner. Barking serves multiple purposes. High-pitched barks often express excitement or greeting. Deep, sharp barks typically serve as alerts or warnings. Repetitive, monotone barking can indicate boredom or frustration. Rapid, high-frequency barking may signal anxiety or fear. Harmony Deers, manager for the Dog Aging Project at Texas A&M, explains that emotions are clearly expressed through barking, whether it's a higher-pitched bark for excitement or repetitive and monotone bark for boredom. A sharp and intense bark to alert you of a sound or sight, or a short, quick bark directed at another dog as a way to say, "Stop it." Interestingly, barking is more common in domesticated dogs than in wolves and wild canids. Dogs evolved to use barking as a primary communication tool with humans during domestication. Whining typically expresses needs and desires. Dogs whine when they want attention, food, to go outside, or during emotional states like excitement, anxiety, or pain. Puppies whine to communicate with their mothers, and many dogs retain this into adulthood. Research on separation-related disorder found that whining is the most characteristic vocalization of dogs experiencing separation anxiety. In a study comparing dogs with and without separation anxiety, affected dogs produced significantly more whines, particularly in the early moments after their owner's departure. Howling reflects dogs' evolutionary connection to wolves and serves as long-range communication. Dogs howl in response to sirens, music, or other dogs howling. They also howl to claim territory, communicate with pack members, including their human family, or alleviate feelings of isolation. Some breeds, particularly those more genetically similar to wolves like Siberian Huskies and Alaskan Malamutes, howl more frequently than others. These northern breeds are famous for their dramatic talking and varied vocalizations. Growling is defensive communication. Dogs growl when nervous, warning that they're uncomfortable, or during appropriate play. It is important never to punish a dog for growling. It is a valuable warning system that prevents escalation to biting. Research on dog vocalizations reveals fascinating complexity. Studies show that dogs produce 4 main call types: barks, growls, howls, and whines, with whines being particularly sophisticated and potentially polyphonic. Acoustic analysis of dog whines reveals they contain all known vocal nonlinear phenomena: subharmonics, deterministic chaos, biphonation, and frequency jumps. This complexity allows dogs to convey nuanced emotional information. Humans are surprisingly good at interpreting dog vocalizations. Research found that people can accurately distinguish between playful and aggressive growls, suggesting dogs communicate emotional states in ways we intuitively understand, despite not sharing a language. For owners, understanding vocalizations means paying attention to tone, context, and body language together. If your dog barks excessively, Don't just try to suppress the behavior, understand what's driving it. Is your dog bored? Anxious? Alerting you to something? Different causes require different solutions. Whining deserves attention. Ask yourself, what does my dog need right now? Are they hungry, need to go out, want to play, or feeling anxious? Addressing the underlying need is more effective than simply trying to quiet the dog. If your dog howls when left alone, it may indicate separation distress. If they howl along with sirens or music, it's likely normal social communication. Never punish growling. A growling dog is giving you valuable information about his emotional state. Punishing it doesn't change the emotion, it just removes the warning, potentially leading to a dog who bites without warning. Remember that some breeds are naturally more vocal than others. Beagles, hounds, huskies, and many terriers were bred to be vocal. If you prefer a quieter dog, research breed characteristics before choosing a pet. We've explored 7 of the most important gestures in your dog as communication repertoire. The curious head tilt that signals attention and mental processing. The complex tail wag that reveals emotional states through direction and position. The paw raise that can mean everything from pet me to uncertainty. The licking that builds bonds and gathers information. The yawn that often signals stress or calm. The powerful eye contact that literally releases love hormones. And the diverse vocalizations that express needs, emotions, and warnings. Understanding these gestures transforms your relationship with your dog. When you can read what your dog is telling you, you respond with more empathy and accuracy. You can recognize when your dog is stressed and needs support, when he's happy and content, when he's trying to communicate a need, and when he's simply saying, "I love you." This knowledge prevents misunderstandings. A tail wag doesn't always mean a friendly dog. A yawn might indicate stress, not boredom. Licking can be a request for space, not always affection. Recognizing these nuances makes you a better, more responsive guardian for your dog. It also deepens the bond. When your dog realizes you understand him, when you respond appropriately to his communications, trust grows. The connection strengthens. Your dog feels seen and understood, which is one of the most fundamental needs of any social creature. Here's my challenge to you. Over the next few days, become a student of your dog's body language. Watch for these gestures. Notice when they happen, what triggers them, and how your dog combines different signals. Leave a comment below, sharing the most surprising gesture your dog makes and what you think it means. Does your dog have a signature move that we didn't cover? I'd love to hear about it. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into animal behavior. Understanding our pets isn't just interesting. It is one of the most rewarding things we can do as animal lovers. Until next time, keep observing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep strengthening that amazing bond with your four-legged friend.